What's happening, people? Welcome back to the show. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's Pro Wrestling Weekly. Wanted to jump on and do a quick video. Wanted to talk about this John Cena farewell tour, which seems to be the elephant in the room for most wrestling fans at the moment. I have quite a connection with John Cena, obviously with having the shop and stuff like that, and I've often spoken on podcasts about a number of times in the shop's history where it nearly went bust or went out of business during real big lulls in wrestling and stuff like that. But the one constant in that time, in 20 years of being in the shop, 21 years nearly now, has been John Cena. And he has been instrumental in the history of the shop, in terms of sales, in terms of consistency, in terms of everything, and all those metrics that WWE put on him as well: pay-per-view, buy rates, consistency, the lack of injuries, the representation of the company, the Make-A-Wish, everything that he's done. That rings true also for the shop. So I have, that connection with John Cena there and stuff like that. I wouldn't have a bad word said about him and stuff, So one of the things I wanted to look at today was this farewell tour, because it's a little bit jarring and there's a lot of stuff on there at the moment. We now have to endure this 16-man tournament, which is just bullshit TV filler. It really, really is, and it's just so jarring. What I particularly wanted from this farewell tour was, I wanted probably 12 matches, say 12 months, 12 matches. Just give me an opponent each month, an opponent that would be significant in John Cena's career history, an opponent that, like, if we get a monthly match each month at each of the PLEs or whatever it is, that, like, we didn't need a storyline about it. For example, if you put John Cena in the ring with Randy Orton, we don't need a storyline, we don't need a build-up, just a rejig of the history, a reaffirming of the history that both boys have together would be more than enough to sell me the match. And that's what I expected month on month. But it kind of went a little bit weird. And if we go back, we'll go through the 12 matches that are out there so far and stuff like that, and just give a quick thoughts on it. The first one, February the 1st, the Royal Rumble, a late rumble in Indianapolis, is where the farewell tour really kind of begun. And of course, John Cena missing out on the Royal Rumble to Jey Uso, in what was one of the most unflattering finishes I've ever seen in a Royal Rumble. A simple bump off the apron onto the ground, land on 2 feet, and shock horror in the mush. Didn't really do a whole lot for me. So then John made the point that he would be going to the main event in WrestleMania, and he would have another shot at it at the Elimination Chamber, and of course wins the Elimination Chamber, and that's where we get the heel turn, of course, in Toronto. And it's really frustrating when you look at that as well. When you look back at that heel turn and stuff like that, it's probably, that heel turn is up there with dropping the ball in relation to the invasion and various other things down through the years. It was just so unflattering and stuff like that. At the time, it hit the spots. We thought The Rock was going to be involved, and then post WrestleMania we got the interviews and all that I was never going to be at Vegas. The Travis Scott stuff was just jarring. And really it just descended into nothing really, in terms of, the whole narrative of ruining wrestling and all that kind of stuff was just didn't hit the spot at all. And it's just, the fact that The Rock just, vacated the situation after laying down the groundwork was just so frustrating. And to hear his interviews after WrestleMania about how I was brought into Elimination Chamber to just bump the ticket sales, and I was never supposed to be at Vegas and all, and yet you walk around Vegas, and most people who are at Vegas like myself can vouch for this. Every shop had "Finally The Rock has come back to Las Vegas" shirts everywhere. So it's pure bullshit, the narrative that went out there, So then we move on. Defeated Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41 to win the championship, and of course create history in Las Vegas. Again, the Travis Scott stuff so jarring and stuff like that, and all really kind of shit on the event, to be honest. And became the focal talking point coming out of the event. The disappointment, Travis Scott coming down the ramp. I was in the stadium. No Rock. We were all waiting for Rock to come out. No Rock. Just really just kind of didn't define anything and stuff. Then when it starts to kind of come into its own a little bit, we get he's defeated Randy Orton at Backlash in St. Louis, which is phenomenal. Obviously Randy Orton's back back garden and stuff like that. And this is where we see a little bit of credibility being brought to the farewell tour. But then it takes a nosedive again. Defeated R-Truth at Saturday night's main event on May the 24th in Tampa. Then you get the teamed with Logan Paul and lost to Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso at Money in the Bank. Again, just a nonsensical, stupid match to put out there. If there's limited matches we're going to do in this, just give him an opponent. Lost to R-Truth via DQ on SmackDown. This whole at Grand Rapids, again, just this whole narrative around this Ron Cena stuff and all, and R-Truth being released and then being brought back and all that. It's just, again, it has no place in this farewell tour for this guy who's had a 20-year career, who's now the sole owner of the record for world championships and stuff. And you just look at what we're filling and padding this out with. June the 29th at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, he defeated CM Punk. Again, we're getting shades of back into something that's meaningful in terms of a farewell tour for John Cena. And then again, lost the WWE Championship to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, and that's where we get the flip back in East Rutherford, back to babyface again. Just, again, so needless and so pointless and stuff like that and all, you know. August the 8th in Montreal, teamed with Cody Rhodes and defeated Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre via DQ on SmackDown. Again, if this is a guy who's probably going to go down as one of the greatest performers ever, let's be honest about this. And if he isn't, then I can't help you in terms of pro wrestling. But just again, another stupid, needless match on a SmackDown, you know what I mean? And probably building there again for ticket sales and stuff like that. Clash in Paris defeats Logan Paul. As we know, the build up to it and stuff like that wasn't great, really. We kind of got shafted in Dublin, you know. They put John Cena on the marquee, they pumped the prices, and lo and behold, he comes out, cuts a promo and takes a left hook or a right hook to the jaw out in the back alley at the Tree Arena and stuff like that. Again, just such a senseless build up and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, of most of the people on the panel on Pro Wrestling Weekly that you will watch week in and week out, I'm a Logan Paul fan. I think Logan Paul's a phenomenal athlete and stuff like that. But does he belong in a John Cena farewell tour with limited dates and who he's gone up against? And then September the 5th in Chicago, we get a no contest versus Sami Zayn. And this is where we lie at the moment. So then it was announced on Saturday night's main event there last week that we would have a 16-man tournament to determine John Cena's final opponent. Eight of the contenders were obviously mentioned in the promo for it, and the 3 matches have been announced, and LA Knight is going to have a mystery opponent and stuff like that. It just stinks. The whole thing just stinks. You know what I mean? Like, you could have simply just given me, you didn't even need to put him near winning the title. If you wanted to put the 17 title on him, that's fine. You go down that route and stuff like that. But you don't have to sell that narrative all the way along. The heel turn was absolute brilliant at the time and then descended into absolute garbage. The Travis Scott stuff was just beyond weird and really frowned upon by wrestling fans. You know, and it just, you look back on it and you think, like, what John Cena has meant to you. And I know there's huge John Cena fans on our panel. You'll hear them week in, week out. Bren, Sean, all the boys are all John Cena fans and stuff like that and all, you know. But this farewell tour has been so poor, so deflating and stuff like that. I think about it, when I look at a farewell tour, I look at all the matches that are in there and stuff like that, and with the exception of Randy and Punk, and maybe you could argue Cody as well, there hasn't been a whole lot in it. It's been so poor. It's been filled with dates that are forgettable, you know. And I even look at the graphic here now with the 12 matches and stuff like that, and I think in 20 years time, like, when we talk about Hogan, you know, and we talk about his moments and stuff like that and all, and, you know, you talk about the greats in there, Randy Macho Man Savage and various other wrestlers like the Triple H, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, all these guys. Straight away, there's career moments that spring to mind and stuff like that we think about. I don't think in 10 years' time we will be talking about this farewell tour at all. It may be referenced in relation to him winning the 17 title and stuff like that. But other than that, what's it going to be spoken about? And this is the final run of a guy who's been the guy in the company for 20 years. The guy that they leaned on. the guy that they went to, the go-to guy, the guy who never refused to do anything in the company, the biggest merch seller, the biggest draw in the company for the last 20 years, the guy who went in there and mixed it up with everyone. And when you think of the opponents he could have had, and I know some of them are obviously caught up, the likes of Edge and Jericho, and opponents like that are caught up in AEW and stuff like that, but still they could have put 12 matches together that stood alone as 12 pillars of this man's career. And instead what we got served up was at times lazy booking, at times, you know, trying to give some sort of a rub and stuff like that. And this is where this video has really come from. I'm a huge Joe Hendry fan. I also like Gunther as well. And there's lots of talk all surrounding all that and where it might go and stuff like that. Surely to God, this guy's final match, and WWE and Triple H have come out and said it's going to be historic. So if it's going to be historic, what does that mean? And we've seen, and I said it yesterday on Twitter as well, if you check out the Upper Tier podcast on Twitter, or X I should say at this stage, I said it yesterday, this whole lark of wrestlers giving other wrestlers the rub in 2025 is bullshit. It's absolute nonsense. It's such an old school quantitative type of thing that really doesn't exist anymore. And the proof is there. Go look over the last decade of wrestlers who have given wrestlers the rub and see what it has meant. Look at John Cena versus Solo at Crown Jewel. Solo's career descended into nothing for over a year after that. Absolutely nothing. And let's be honest, what's going to happen? If we get a match with Gunther and John Cena, if that's his final match, that's going to be so jarring. So jarring. And if you get Joe Hendry, and I'm a huge Joe Hendry fan, there's a Joe Hendry thinker sitting right behind me there signed. Love Joe Hendry and stuff like that. But that will just go up in a puff of smoke within a month of happening. And it will be meaningless and no one will be talking about it. And we'll revert back. I mean, as much as I enjoy Joe Hendry and the entertainment and the wrestling and all that kind of stuff, do we really want the guy who's, when his name's mentioned, he climbs out of a fridge or a wardrobe or a press or whatever it is and shows up? Is he the guy, the final guy that John Cena should be facing to pull down the curtain on a 20-odd year career in there, a stellar career, one of the greats, should be on everyone's Mount Rushmore? Is that really how this farewell tour is going to run out? It's been so frustrating all along as a John Cena fan to see that this is the kind of garbage that's being served up. And WWE really needs to take a look at itself. This guy has been an absolute pillar of this company for over 20 years. He's had phenomenal matches and storylines with so many different wrestlers in there. And just look at what was served up in those 12 matches. Shocking. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. How are you feeling about John Cena's farewell tour? How did you feel about the heel turn? How did you feel about The Rock's comments after Vegas? How did you feel about who he faced? How did you feel about so many dates that were wasted on absolutely meaningless nothing? And I think when this curtain comes down on this, I think if there's a book or a documentary or something like that, or if John Cena puts something together, I don't see him looking back on this 12-month stretch with fondness at all. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Has John Cena's farewell tour lived up to the billing, or has it been a pale shadow of that man's career? If you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video. Of course, I will be back tomorrow with Mark, the Monday mashup. Tuesday is Pro Wrestling Weekly. We will discuss this even further, especially with those John Cena guys and girls in the panel and stuff. That we should have a full panel this week as well. And then the usual Thursday shows and all the other videos that are going up now that the panels are producing themselves. Hope you're enjoying it. Really appreciate the support. Talk to you again real soon. Cheers.